5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in to The Source, WOCA. Robin, I got a little story to tell you. I don't know if I've ever shared this one. I've shared everything with you, but I think this is one that never made it out to your ears. When I was a kid in elementary school, there was another student in my class who had some friends in Amish, Pennsylvania, in the Amish area of Pennsylvania. And so this was in the 60s, for those who want to know how old I am. And so this goes way back. But the reason the 60s is important to this discussion is because the Beatles were really popular back at that time, okay? And the Beatles had that haircut, like the Mo Howard haircut.
Yeah, right.
Called it the Beatles. Anyway, so the friend in the class had some Amish friends, and the Amish family visited us, okay? And we, as young boys, still had that short haircut that was probably pretty common in the 60s, at least for young boys. And their son had like a Beatles haircut. And we thought, whoa, he's got a Beatles haircut. We thought it was so cool. So my first introduction into Amish culture was, wow, they got Beatle haircuts in Amish. And as I got older, I learned so much more. And Pastor Snyder has, who does a show here every Sunday, called Sunday Joy, also has some Amish roots, and he has shared them with us. And of course, then there's the Amish cheese and the Amish butter that we enjoy.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I don't know why it's so much better than the other stuff. But anyway. So, with that said, which has nothing at all to do, I don't think, with our guest, but just
Amish potato salad.
Right. The Amish references are starting to come to mind. Suzanne Woods Fisher has written a book. It's called The Calling. She is an award-winning Amish fiction and nonfiction author. She raises puppies for guide dogs for the blind. I don't know if there's a connection there between her work as an author and everything else we're going to talk about. But she's on a book tour. Or she will be anyway. She's in San Francisco right now?
Yes.
Is that right? So she's coming here to Florida, and she'll be here next week, I think, if I understand right. And I don't know if she's coming to Ocala. We'll find out. Suzanne Woods Fisher, what an honor to be able to say hi to you. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Larry, and hi, Robin. Thanks for having me on the show this morning.
And how did you end up in San Francisco?
You were talking about your Amish friends, the very cool haircut.
Yeah.
I actually, kind of to back up a little bit, my grandfather's out of the Pennsylvania area, and he was raised plain. He was actually a kind of a cousin to the Amish, the Old Order German Baptists. They share a lot of the same roots as the Amish and sort of like branches off the same tree. But that family, little by little, we migrated out to California, and there's a large colony of German Baptists out in California as well. I'm not German Baptist, though many, many cousins are, and they've been great resources as I'm studying and learning about the Amish, because I write about fiction and nonfiction as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Now there's something about Amish that I wanted to ask you. When we speak about Jewish people, it doesn't always mean, well, it does mean their religion, but it also means their culture. And it sounds like it's the same thing with Amish. Amish isn't a religion, although it often refers to religious beliefs, but it's more of a culture. Am I right about that?
Well, it is their religion, but I loved what you just said, because that actually is, it's more than sort of a religion. It's really a lifestyle. It's part of their culture. It's part of their, sometimes I refer to it almost as the way they view God in their life is the pie crust, and everything else is sort of pieces of the pie on top.
Oh.
Whereas sometimes in secular culture, or even in our modern churches, God is a piece of the pie, but not necessarily the pie crust holding it all together.
Oh, I like that. Oh, that is wonderful. I like the way you said that.
A food reference, Larry.
Yes, food is always going to get my attention. Yes, food reference. So the call. Let's talk about your writing, and then we'll kind of go back and forth between Amish and things. Is the Calling a first book? I'm guessing this is not a first book for you.
No, actually, I realized the other day it is my 22nd book.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm just amazed at that. It's been an explosion in the last probably 4 or 5 years.
And Robin just handed me a note. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it says that you're coming to our area. You're going to be in the Villages Public Library in Pinellas Plaza on Thursday the 16th, and at the Lifeway Orlando store with another author named Dan Walsh on Saturday, January 18th. Wow.
Yeah, really excited. There's going to be a lot of different events going on next week, and I'm really pleased to be coming back to Florida. I'm so glad the book tour in January is in Florida this year and not in Ohio.
Yeah, right. Well, temperatures are supposed to get better. Like today, we're supposed to see a reprieve from this cold temperature. or relief. Maybe it's the word reprieve, the wrong word. So let me hear the storyline for The Calling, like a movie trailer version, if you could.
Well, The Calling it's the second in a series of 3 called The Inn at Eagle Hill, and it's about a family that is sort of based loosely on a true story of a Bernie Madoff-style investment that went sour. A fellow who was Mennonite, which is part of the Amish culture, that part of the Anabaptists. He had an investment company that was doing very, very well, and then boom, 2007, everything went sour, and he tried to ramp up the returns through deceptive means. Most of his investors, and again, this is a true story, most of his investors were plain people. They were Amish, Mennonites, others. Small investors, we're not talking about people with huge amounts of money. This is their life savings. It might surprise you, in fact, to think that the Amish invest, but they do.
Well, I was going to ask that, yeah, and maybe it was a stupid question, but I'm glad that you said I would be surprised, because I thought maybe I was the only one who didn't realize that.
No, in fact, you might be surprised to know they're Amish millionaires, but their lifestyle doesn't reflect it. They really have a value of frugality and modesty, and believe in encouraging the next generation to own a farm. That's really where they put their money, as well as caring for each other in the community. But their lifestyle to the rest of us is not an affluent one. It's nothing, no bells and whistles, as you know. But back to the story, this true story, what just grabbed me about it was that after everything came to light and the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, went in and claimed, seized assets, the investors had the right to go in and make a claim to get at least some of their money back. None of the Amish and Mennonites did. Instead, they took up donations to reimburse all the investors. Now, all the plain investors. They took care of their people. I find that so startling because it's such a picture of who the Amish are, where
yeah, really.
they don't want to make an accusation against anyone else out of humility because they don't believe in accusing someone. They feel that God will right the scales, and instead they choose a different path. So that's essentially what my story is about. It's a family that the husband was the Bernie Madoff one.
Wow.
And the family's reeling from all that and what's happening, and they're trying to just get back on their feet and make amends and be a part of a community. The second in the series is actually about a young woman. And interrupt me if I'm talking too long.
No. I have a question, but I'm loving listening to you. So, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, go with your question.
Well, it really isn't a question as much as just a statement. There was a story about a murder, a guy who went into the Amish community and started killing some Amish people, remember?
Yeah.
And the Amish people forgave him. It was one of those amazing stories. And so your story about the investors who were ripped off, getting forgiving the bad guys rather than taking them through the court systems and all that. It almost seems to fit with everything else we've ever heard about Amish people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's very much part of who they are, that sense of intentional forgiveness. I mean, you saw that in the Nickel Mines tragedy where the man went into the schoolhouse and shot the little children, and the family forgave immediately that very day. The family.
That must be the story I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, probably it is. But there's countless stories that, and I don't mean to say that they would not allow justice to happen, but they wouldn't be the ones to do the accusation.
See, I would have a hard time with this. I would be a fair weather Amish. In other words, so long as everything is good, I'd be, yes, thank you very much, madam. I would, but as soon as somebody hurt somebody I liked, I couldn't forgive them. Mm-hmm. I would have a hard time. I mean, there must be something that is part of just from the day they're born, how they're brought up.
I think it goes back to what we were talking at the very beginning of who they believe God is. And they believe God is a just God, and that forgiveness belongs in, that He is the one who can, hold our sins. And they also have a sense that they need forgiveness as well. They take the Sermon on the Mount very seriously, where in the Lord's Prayer, let us forgive others as you forgive us. So they take it so to heart.
But how do you protect yourself from, like in a war? Like if you were,
they're non-resistant.
Yeah, how do you do? I mean, when I'm going to compare it to the Jewish people again, just for a second, and I don't mean to be political here, but there was some scenes in Schindler's List, and that's what I'm drawing from here, where they were just taking it. They were taking the abuse from the Nazis, and I remember saying to Robin, who watched the film with me, why don't they fight back? I mean, why didn't they do something?
Yeah.
So the Amish would be the same way. They just wouldn't fight back, or what? Don't they have guns?
No, not well for hunting, but not for people. No, you know, a non-resistant is such an unusual thing because it's different from passive. It's not meaning passive. It's really very difficult to be non-resistant. It's counterintuitive, but it's part of their belief system. And Larry, I completely appreciate how hard that is to get our heads around it. We are just raised with a different mindset of what's, you know, the world has to be fair, it has to be right. We are special. We have individual rights. I mean, that is American, and that's
and do anything to protect the people you love.
I know, and yet let's look at the Amish, and it's hard to kind of look at another culture without forcing our values on them, but if you can understand from their perspective, they have such a belief in a holy God and eternity and answering to God for this life in eternity that it makes some of those decisions easier for them.
Yeah, but wouldn't God forgive me if somebody came in here right now, pointed a gun at Robin, and I shot the guy dead first? I mean, wouldn't God say, you know, that was okay?
That's right.
I don't. Yeah.
It's a hard concept. It really is. And let's take it not even as far as something so black and white as that, but just talk about the smaller things in our lives, the little petty frictions between neighbors and sister-in-laws and, you know, things like that they really pursue intentional forgiveness before they have their communion twice a year. The entire church is meant to make amends, and if they are holding something against another or there's a problem, they hold communion off until they have unity. So their whole sense of unity of a group of making decisions that are best for the whole, very different from the way most Americans think, and I really appreciate that's hard, but that's also what makes them fascinating.
Suzanne, you have Amish background. I'm trying to remember what we said in the beginning here.
Yeah, my grandfather was raised Old Order German Baptist.
So did you have that as an upbringing also?
No, I didn't. I wasn't raised. I wasn't raised plain, what they would call plain. No, but just had interactions with my relatives. So I'm trying to understand them as you are. I wasn't raised there.
Right. Well, but the fact that you're in San Francisco, and I've not been there, but it seems like San Francisco is a peaceful, gentle kind of a town. Am I right, or is that wrong? Because I'm not there. But I mean, I've got friends in San Francisco. I'm from New York originally, and some of my friends moved to San Francisco, and some of them moved here, and some of them stayed in New York. The ones in San Francisco speak more gentle. Hello, Larry. How are you now?
Oh, kind of chill.
Yeah, like they're very, very, very low key. The guys up in New York, they're still, hey, how you doing over there? You know, they've got this gentleness about them, and I'm not. I don't know. Are they reflecting the city accurately or not?
Well, I think there's stress anywhere you live, and there's a culture. I mean, and I think the Northeast has a little bit of that culture. You know, making a sweeping generalization. Look at the weather they're having to contend with.
Yeah,
we're in the 70s out here, so we have less weather stress, but there's stresses. Anywhere you live, there's stresses and problems and things like, you know, political issues and things like that. So no place is safe.
One of the things that I guess we face in culture is whether or not to be overprotective, over providing of our children. And you see this all the time. You hear the word entitlement a lot on radio talk shows, where people think, whether it's family or government, I'm entitled to fill in the blank. The Amish, that's another part of what I understand about them, is that they don't buy into that whole entitlement. They're responsible for their own lot in life, right?
There is a proverb that I just love, and it says, it's an Amish proverb, children are loved but not adored. Children are loved but not adored. I think that is profound. When you think that 5-year-olds are getting trophies for showing up at soccer, I mean, we are raising a whole culture of special, special children. I am so special. And it's really probably doing them a disservice. You know, a lot of in my book, I'm not trying to encourage people to go Amish or be Amish, But I think you can look at some of the things in their lives and really pull them into our own culture. They've held tight for 400 years to some of their values. Really impressive. I mean, I don't know if you know this, they're one of the fastest growing populations in North America. They're not the largest, but they're the fastest growing. I mean, they have held strong. They have an 85 to 90% retention rate of teenagers joining their church. And it is pretty impressive. Now, again, no one has to go Amish. No one very few people could. But there's some things that they have. The idea of simpler living, of capping your lifestyle.
Are they vegetarians?
No. They have a lot of...
They shoot rabbits.
They're Germans, they're resourceful Germans.
Oh, okay.
I like the fact that your heroine, Bethany, that she's 20 years old, because that's when a woman starts to reach maturity then, and they're not gaga over the guys and stuff like that, but they do still have their feelings intact.
Robin, thank you. That was a great segue back to the book. Well done.
Yes, thank you, Robin, for me too. I know we got to be fair to the book.
Well, no, and the book is called The Calling, and it really features the oldest daughter in this family that is reeling from the investment scam, and she's trying to just figure out who she is and is lost. She's not sure she even wants to remain Amish. She's not sure where she fits. She's not sure what her purpose in life is, and she ends up kind of getting roped into cleaning out 5 Amish sisters, elderly women, 70s, 80s, 90s, sisters who've lived together all their lives, little maiden sisters. They have a house full of junk. Might surprise you to think that there could be a messy Amish home, but there are, and this she's cleaning it out. And each day the Amish sisters disappear about lunchtime, and she doesn't know where they go, but she ends up kind of getting swept along with them one day, and they've actually created a soup kitchen for what they call the down and outers of Stony Ridge. Little by little, the heroine of this book, Bethany, starts kind of reluctantly at first, but then ends up helping them. And in that serving, she really finds herself. I'm not saying that's the whole story or at all, but I think that's sort of an essence of the story, of that mystery of you find yourself when you lose yourself.
Right.
Are the down and outers Amish, or are they from the outside community?
The outside community, and they're just, a surprising mix of people. In fact, actually, I've based this story, again, I love true stories that you can kind of fictionalize, because life is in some ways so much more fascinating than even fiction. There's a woman over in the San Francisco Bay Area who at 77 years old, an African-American woman, she started a soup kitchen all by herself. In my book, she's now 88, and she's still serving lunch once a week.
Oh, wow.
Amazing story, but I sort of based my 5 Amish sisters on this one woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Now, this is part of a series, and just to recap something for our listeners, for those of you who would like to meet Suzanne, she will be here. She'll be in the Villages. Let me find out that right. Let me find that note that Robin gave me. She will. Yeah, I'm sorry. Next Thursday, January 16th, and that's at the Villages Public Library at Pinellas Plaza.
2 to 4 p.m. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's kind of exciting. And then you'll be in Orlando at the Lifeway Orlando store with another author named Dan Walsh. Is he a similar topic as you, or just happen to be 2 authors at once?
We're actually both authors with Revell, our publisher, and we even have the same editor. So Dan and I kind of started at the same time, and he's a Florida boy and has really done so well with his books. He writes, they liken him to kind of the Nicholas Sparks. So, the Christian Nicholas Sparks, but he's a great guy.
Do the Amish have colonies, for lack of a better way to ask this question, everywhere? And the reason I ask is because my mom lived in not too far from here, maybe about an hour's drive. And I used to pass this vegetable and fruit stand, and among the vegetables and fruits, they also had Amish butter and cheese. And I would always stop and get some. And I thought, where does it come from? I mean, are they sending it down from Pennsylvania? Mm-hmm. What are they here?
Yeah.
Do we have an Amish population here?
You do down in Pinecraft, Sarasota.
Oh, way down there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's an Amish population there. They are actually, the Amish have you ever heard of the 150 rule? It's something Malcolm Gladwell mentioned in The Tipping Point, but it's the idea that beyond 150, it's too much for any one person to, your social boundaries kind of extend to about 150 people. Well, the Amish, without knowing that rule, and the other Anabaptists, they tend to split their churches at about 150. They've just done it for years. They have house church, and when it gets too big to have everyone in your home, they start splitting and form another church, and each church is a standalone. So right now there's about 1,900 of these churches in North America, some in South America, but they're Mexico as well. They're really spreading out. They're not in California, Washington, or Oregon, but they are Montana and Colorado. So they kind of move as land.
As they get over 100. Okay, so I gotta shrink my Facebook friends. I have. I bet I could shrink it to 150, and no, I wouldn't miss anybody.
Yeah.
How about your Christmas card list?
Yeah, the Christmas card list. Yeah. Well, fun interview, fun topic, and good luck with everything you're doing. When are you actually coming? Are you flying to Florida?
Yes, I am. Next Tuesday, I'm flying to Florida. I'll be in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Really looking forward to it. It's so fun to meet people that actually love to read, and whether they've read my book or not, I just hope they'll come out, because it's interesting just to meet people who are like-minded.
And this listenership, by the way, because Robin and I speak to so many authors, this listenership is filled with readers and writers. We've got authors out there too.
Oh, good, because I'm actually doing some writing groups as well. If you go to my website, do you mind if I plug it?
No, I want you to.
www.suzannewoodsfisher.com, and on there will be the whole listing of the tour, and people are welcome to come. I'd love to meet people, love to hear about what they're doing too.
Do sometimes people write you and use you as their own psychiatrist in case they're going through something and they don't know how to attack it?
Yeah, and I do, and I even get a lot of questions about people who want to become Amish. And I find that I try to answer as best I can. I try to answer everyone back within 24 hours. But I know when I'm not equipped, like when it's a bigger issue than I can handle, and I've learned when I need to say, we got to get you a little more help. So.
Oh, nice.
But it's fun to hear from people. Most people are just really lovely to connect with. I would have to, probably 99% has been just an absolute joy. And then there's always one person that,
There's always that one.
If I'm with somebody from another culture and I'm excited about learning their culture. Oh, that's the food you eat. Let me try some of that. What kind of fun do you have? What do you do for fun? Now they come into my world. Will it be okay? Like if I say, you come into Florida, not you, Suzanne, because it doesn't sound like this really applies to you, but it's somebody who's really purely Amish. Would they want to go to Disney World? Because I would love to show them. You would love this place.
Oh, I think they are so curious and so interested.
Oh, they would like Disney.
You would be surprised at what travelers, they take buses, they don't take flights, but they're buses that go all around to a lot of like the national sites, the national parks and places like that. They are fascinated by, in fact, this may surprise you, I have never been in an Amish home without floor-to-ceiling books. Shelves and shelves of books. They read so much. That could be a whole other show, but it is surprising what they have, sort of a learn by doing and a sense of mastering a skill. And I think it comes from the little one-room schoolhouse where they just learn it thoroughly before they move on to a new concept.
Do they have radios and TVs?
No radios. Even my German Baptist relatives don't. No, they don't.
So that's why they have books.
Yes. There's a lot to learn from the Amish.
Yeah. All right. Bethany Schrock, somebody we'll get to know through the book, which is The Calling. And we got to know Suzanne Woods Fisher, her creator.
Yes.
It sounds weird, doesn't it? You're the creator. Bethany Schrock. And it sounds like a delightful story, actually. And thank you for being on the air to talk about it. And come to Florida. And if we're in the area, we'll come to what time of day is that?
The villages, the library is 2 to 4.
2 to 4. We might be able to get down there. We usually are out of here at 2 o'clock. Suzanne, thank you for being on the air with us. And the website is your name, Suzanne Woods
Fisher, FISHER.com.
Okay. SuzanneWoodsFisher.com. And the book is called The Calling. Is it available where all books are sold? Amazon?
Yeah, starting Tuesday. It's going to release on Tuesday, January 14th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're going to be here right at the same time it's getting released.
Yes. A coincidence, isn't it?
It's a good one, too. A good one. Suzanne, thank you. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
My pleasure. Really enjoyed you both.
Great interview. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
At Palm Chevrolet, we're starting 2014 with a renewed commitment to you, our customers. Now, what does that mean? Well, for starters, it means breaking away from the pack. No more screaming and shouting about deals that seem too good to be true and this weekend-only events. Instead, when we have something to say, we're simply going to say it. Straightforward, open, like you would with your friends. It's the same way you're treated when you come to our dealership. When you come to Palm Chevrolet, you're not pounced upon by a salesperson. You're greeted like a guest at our home. And our deals, they're simple, old-fashioned horse trading, the way you do it with your neighbors. We put our prices right on the windshield of our cars. We use the Auto Trader trade-in marketplace to make sure you get a fair price for your trade. We even have trucks in our service loaner fleet. No games, no hassles. It's the way you've told us you like to do business. We call it the Palm Chevrolet way. So come on down to 2300 Southwest College Road in Ocala and see how easy it is to buy a car or truck the Palm Chevrolet way. Visit palmchevrolet.com. Chevy. Find new roads.
Hi, I'm Yvette, and I'm here to tell you a few things about ABC Fredericks Appliance. They sell not only new, but used guaranteed appliances. When you call ABC Fredericks Appliance, they will provide service on what they sell and any appliances that you own. ABC Fredericks Appliance is located in Bellevue, right over the railroad tracks. Call 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. ABC Fredericks Appliance.
Trauma care centers save thousands of Florida lives.
But Shands UF wants to close Ocala Regional's trauma center.
An out-of-town hospital that receives millions in taxpayer money is suing to shut down Ocala's trauma center. They want to pull the plug on life-saving trauma care all over Florida. Don't let them get away with it. Trauma care increases the chance of survival in traumatic injuries by 25%. 25%.
That's right. But only 2 in 5 Floridians have the access to trauma care they need. And that's not even close to good enough.
We don't need less access to trauma care. We need more.
It's time for Shands UF to stop putting profits ahead of patients.
Stop playing political games.
Visit SaveOurTraumaCenters.org to find out how you can help keep Ocala's Trauma Center open and protect life-saving trauma care. Save more lives. Save our trauma centers. Paid for by the 60 Plus Association.
Stay informed on everything going on in the Villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the Villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
Hi, Robin. You look tired.
I am. I've been running all over town.
Why? Why not drive?
I need to get the